We have new reporting tonight after the terror attack at one of the world's most famous museums. A man with 2 machetes at the Louvre going on the attack. The suspect is believed to be an Egyptian on a tourist visa, taken down while trying to attack soldiers.
A massive police presence at the Louvre after a man wearing 2 backpacks rushed towards a group of soldiers and guards, attempting to attack one with a machete while yelling Allahu Akbar. The soldier fired back with 5 shots, wounding the man. Authorities now have him in custody. According to police, the man attacked after being told he couldn't enter the underground shopping area with his bags. The museum, a popular tourist attraction, home to the world-famous Mona Lisa, on lockdown. At least 1,000 tourists inside the Louvre at the time of the incident. They were hustled into safe areas. Many posting messages like this on social media. "We have all been locked inside the Louvre. There are hundreds of police vans." Another tweeting, "Tourists told to sit on the ground in locked halls inside the Louvre." France has been on edge following a series of horrific terror attacks. In November 2015, 130 people were killed after a series of coordinated attacks in the capital. And in July last year, a terrorist drove a cargo truck through a crowd of people celebrating Bastille Day in Nice, killing 84. Responding to the Paris attack, President Donald Trump tweeting, quote, "A new radical Islamic terrorist has just attacked in Louvre Museum in Paris. Tourists were locked down. France on edge again. Get smart, U.S."
Sources told Reuters that the Trump administration wants to revamp and rename a U.S. government program that is designed to counter all violent ideologies so that it may solely focus on fighting against Islamist extremism. Sources have said that the program, called Countering Violent Extremism, or CVE, would be changed to Countering Islamic Extremism, or Countering Radical Islamic Extremism. The program would no longer target groups such as white supremacists, who have also carried out bombings and shootings in the United States, but instead only focus on radical Islamic extremism.
Turkey's President Erdogan has given Angela Merkel a scolding at a meeting in Ankara after she used the term Islamist when talking about the fight against terror.
We talked extensively about fighting Islamist terror and agreed that we want to collaborate closely.
Look, the term Islamist terror seriously upsets us Muslims. That term should not be used. It's not right. Because Islam and terror cannot come together. As a Muslim president, I can never accept such terminology.
The Chancellor later explained that her words did not imply any suspicion regarding Muslims. The tone of the meeting, though, was chilly throughout. In fact, if you have a look, you'll see the two hardly at any point saw eye to eye.
Biz bunun karşısında durmak durumundayız.
Yeah, we spoke to analyst Ivan Eland about Merkel's visit. He gave a number of reasons why he thinks the meeting was so chilly.
I think they're trying to repair relationships, and the meeting didn't go very well from what I'm able to perceive. But, you know, Merkel has taken in a lot of refugees, and Turkey is vital to preventing more refugees from coming. And Merkel is in big electoral trouble in Germany because she took so many Syrian and other refugees in. So I think she probably wants to make sure that Turkey is still holding against the refugees coming into Europe. As long as you have the potential for refugees coming into Europe from the Syrian conflict, there's liable to be tensions between all European countries, but particularly Germany, which is the leader, and Turkey.
European Union leaders said they agreed to stick together in dealing with Donald Trump. At their first summit since he took office, however, they were at odds on how far to confront or engage with the new U.S. president. From questioning the value of NATO and free trade to banning Muslim refugees, Trump and his policies came up repeatedly in discussions in Malta on external challenges challenges facing the union. British Prime Minister Theresa May briefed peers on her visit to Washington last week. She is about to lead her own country out of the EU. She assured them Trump was committed to cooperating in their defense, just as Britain would also be after Brexit.
Scuffles erupted outside New York University, where prominent Trump supporter and co-founder of Vice Media, Gavin McInnes, was speaking. The protesters attempted to prevent people from attending the event, in some cases by attacking them. One of those who was attacked was wearing a Make America Great Again hat, which was later stolen and burned. Several arrests were also made. Now, it all echoes the violence which was seen at a campus in California on Thursday, when the editor of the news website Breitbart and a leading Trump supporter had to cancel his speech at Berkeley University. Rioters smashed property and hurled stones at police. Now, the university said it condemned the riots, adding that it regretted the fact that a peaceful protest had been hijacked.
The riots at UC Berkeley on Wednesday have cost the university over $100,000 in damage. So, Brigida, who were these anarchists, and were any of them students?
This is a group of anarchists known as the Antifa, aka the anti-fascists, and they're the same group that is responsible for the Disrupt J20 protests that turned violent on Inauguration Day in Washington, D.C. Now, according to this group, they are, quote, a group that combines radical left-wing and anarchist politics, revulsion at racists, sexists, homophobes, etc., with the international anti-fascist culture of taking the streets and physically confronting the brown shirts of white supremacy. Now, this is a radical left-wing group that many liberals do not support, much like people in conservative groups do not support those on the radical right. Now, there was one student at UC Berkeley who is part of this Antifa group that did participate in these riots at UC Berkeley. However, most students do condemn this type of violence. Take a listen to some of their reactions.
I was hoping the protest would be fairly peaceful. The whole point was to let Milo either not speak or just say that we are not supporting what he has to say on campus. I'm really disappointed how it turned out, though.
Many people in the campus community feel that the Berkeley College Republicans, the group itself, is neo-Nazi, fascist, associated with Trump, and that we are fascists, and that therefore they view us as being utterly detestable, and that they don't want us on here on campus at all.
There were a lot of Berkeley students around, and they were watching, but I don't believe the majority of Berkeley students, wanted to commit these acts. This is our university, right? This is our tuition. We have to pay for these repairs. I don't think that the vast majority of students participated. It was mostly community members.
Frightening moments overnight as an explosion rocked a California restaurant. Police say a man threw a homemade explosive device into the Cheesecake Factory in Pasadena, sending panicked diners running. Heavy smoke filled the restaurant, but no one was injured. The suspect managed to get away. Witnesses say he was dressed in all black.
Today, President Trump imposed new sanctions on Iran after a ballistic missile test.
They're not behaving.
President Trump once again condemned Iran today for its recent test of a ballistic missile. His administration's new sanctions will hit 25 individuals and companies involved in the missile program. On Twitter, Mr. Trump said Iran was playing with fire. Iran's foreign minister Javad Zarif, also on Twitter, posted this video about its ballistic missiles.
Because we will never repeat, never, and get the same statement from those who are complaining. Never use them against anybody, unless in self-defense, and we're sure that nobody has the guts again to attack us.
The U.S. is also alarmed by Iran's backing of Houthi rebels fighting U.S. allies in Yemen. It blames the rebels for this suicide attack against a Saudi Arabian ship. U.S. intelligence believes the rebels thought they were striking a U.S. vessel. In a statement, National Security Advisor Michael Flynn said the days of turning a blind eye to Iran's hostile and belligerent actions toward the United States and the world community are over.
The United States has moved a Navy destroyer to off the coast of Yemen to protect waterways from Houthi militia aligned with Iran, two U.S. officials said on Friday, amid heightened tension between Washington and Tehran. Trump said on Thursday that nothing is off the table in dealing with Iran, a day after his national security advisor, Michael Flynn, said he was putting Iran on notice.
Pyongyang says Washington and Seoul have pushed the Korean peninsula to the brink of nuclear war with their decision to deploy a controversial missile defense system. Facing this threat, the DPRK says it will hold on to its nuclear weapons. Citing the DPRK's Committee for the Peaceful Reunification of Korea, state-run news agency KCNA on Friday said the country had been identified as a target for preemptive nuclear strikes by the US. The DPRK says it will take all possible measures to improve its ability for preemptive strikes if the US and South Korea ignore repeated warnings against nuclear threats and holding of annual military exercises.
Russia renewed its opposition towards the deployment of the U.S. missile defense system THAAD on the Korean peninsula. Moscow's ambassador to South Korea, Alexander Timonin, told reporters Friday that Russia has to consider countermeasures if the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System does get installed on the Korean peninsula.
The THAAD deployment can dangerously affect conditions on the Korean peninsula and securing regional peace and stability.
Timonin cited similar reasons as China, saying THAAD would threaten Russia's national security interests. When asked whether an improvement of Russia-U.S. ties under the Trump administration could affect Moscow's stance, Timonin said in any case its position towards THAAD will be negative.
United States Defense Secretary James Mattis has said the U.S. stands 100% with Japan. Mattis gave the assurances to Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on a visit meant to confirm the importance of the two countries' security alliance. Abe said Japan and the U.S. would be able to demonstrate an unwavering alliance. Trump's presidential campaign sparked unease in Japan as he suggested the country should pay more to support U.S. troops based there.
China has urged the U.S. to stop making false remarks regarding the Diaoyu Islands and China's sovereignty. This follows comments by U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis, who reportedly said the U.S.-Japan Mutual Defense Treaty covers the islands. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lu Kang says the Diaoyu Islands and the adjacent islets have been inherent parts of Chinese territory since ancient times. The ministry says this is unchangeable historical fact. It adds the alliance between Japan and the U.S. is a product of the Cold War, which should not be used to infringe on China's rights. China is urging the U.S. to take a responsible attitude, stop making wrong remarks, and avoid making the issue more complicated and bringing instability to the regional situation.
On Thursday, the U.S. House of Representatives voted to repeal an Obama-era rule affecting background checks for guns. The rule requires the Social Security Administration to share certain information with the FBI's criminal background check system. Specifically, the SSA would have to give the FBI info on any person with a, quote, documented mental health issue who can't manage their disability benefits without a representative. The House voted 235 to 180, mostly along party lines, to repeal the regulation, which went into effect just a couple of days before former President Barack Obama left office. Opponents of the regulation, including the National Rifle Association, praised the move as a victory for Second Amendment rights. But many disability rights advocates and some House Republicans praised the move for another reason. They say the rule unfairly stigmatized some people with disabilities.
This rule is a slap in the face of those who in the disabled community because it paints all those who suffer from mental disorders with the same broad brush.
It's important to note that overturning the rule won't do away with background checks or end the federal restriction that keeps some people with mental illnesses from buying guns. It just means the SSA won't have to report to the FBI's background check system. But that's something supporters of the rule say is necessary to keep people safe.
These are people with a severe mental illness who can't hold any kind of job or make any decisions about their affairs.
The Senate is expected to pass the appeal soon.
Clashes erupted in Romania as people took to the streets of Bucharest to protest against a government decree. The government wants to decriminalise the theft of public funds less than $47,000, at a time when ruling Social Democrat Party leader Liviu Dragnea is on trial for diverting a sum just short of this figure. Mr. Dragnea denies the charge. The leader of the Junior Alliance of Democratic Liberals, which forms the current coalition government, also faces corruption charges. Both are currently barred from serving as ministers. Mr Dragnir's party says the decree will reduce prison overcrowding. The government has also sent a proposal to Parliament that would pardon thousands of prisoners for non-violent crimes, which would free around 3,000 convicts. Analysts say the demonstration was the largest in the country since the end of the Cold War. The protests reflect a widening political divide between rural older voters who remain loyal to the ruling party and younger professional urbanites demanding reform.
Now, people have taken to the streets in the capital, in the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro to protest against austerity measures being considered by the state. Brazilian riot police used tear gas and stun grenades to prevent the crowd from gathering outside the parliament. The demonstrations took place while lawmakers were discussing austerity measures to tackle a deepening financial crisis in the state. The fiscal crisis comes just months after the state's signature city of Rio de Janeiro hosted the 2016 Olympics. Thousands of state employees have not been paid or have been paid months late due to the financial problems.
It's a dream scenario for any kids who can't stand eating their veggies, but it's a real problem for our friends across the pond. Britain's running out of vegetables. No, people there didn't suddenly become veggie obsessed. It's actually the weather in Spain that's causing the problem. Spain is the EU's largest exporter of fruits and vegetables. The country was hit by an especially rainy December, followed by a cold spell in January. It's gotten so bad, the fourth largest British supermarket now has to ration their broccoli and iceberg lettuce. The shortage is also causing prices to go up. Similarly, so is the blood pressure of the health conscious, which have started the hashtag courgette crisis to vent their frustrations. The Agriculture Ministry is said to be monitoring the situation, but until the shortage lets up, hungry shoppers are going to have to make do with only being allowed to buy 3 heads of broccoli and 2 lettuce heads.
Fukushima's Daiichi nuclear power station reaches high radiation levels again. According to the Tokyo Electric Power Company on Thursday, February 2nd, atmospheric readings as high as 530 sieverts an hour were recorded inside the containment vessel of one of the 3 nuclear reactors. Those radiation levels are the highest since the main nuclear plant suffered a triple meltdown in 2011 after a tsunami hit the coast of Japan. A sievert is the measure of a health effect of low levels of ionizing radiation on the human body. At the plant's current sievert levels, even brief exposure would kill a person. The Japan Times reports extremely high radiation levels suggest that some of the melted fuel has escaped from a hole in the metal grating of a containment vessel. The power company plans to deploy a remote control robot to further assess the conditions.
An act of kindness is going viral. Chicago police officer Peter White saw this man 3 weeks ago. He was making good on a promise of a warm coat. Officer White places the jacket over the man's much lighter coat, helping him push his arms through the sleeves. He checks the fit and even zips it up for him. An act of kindness the officer didn't know was being recorded.
I got out and gave him the jacket and he thanked me, and I got back in the car and he sent it to me. I sent it to my wife and his friends and my friends.
Officer Bob Osborne shared the video on social media, and it picked up steam, being viewed hundreds of thousands of times. They say it's an opportunity often not caught on camera, and something that lifts the spirits within the police department and with the public.
We wrote him a ticket the time we stopped him. I mean, we still did our job, but when we went back, you know, the human side always still comes out.
The officers saw the man didn't have a warm jacket. It inspired them to grab one and hold on to it in case they saw him again.
He's out there panhandling and does whatever he can to stay warm and fed, but I don't think that he gets people actually truly caring. And it felt nice for us, but I think he was appreciative himself that as not only just people, but as police officers, we showed that we kept our word.